Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to this learning experience brought to you by AWS and Tata Consultancy Services. For over 25 years, TCS has been helping leading global enterprises modernize legacy applications to be more digital, agile, and lean. A TCS survey covering global CXOs showed mainframe and legacy modernization as a business priority among 95% of the respondents. It's top priority for 70%. And for enabling business agility and digital transformation. AWS has responded to the market dynamics and launched Mainframe Competency and AWS Mainframe Modernization Service in 2021 to accelerate change. And TCS has been working closely with AWS as a pre-launch and launch partner for AWS's Mainframe Modernization Service. So as you can see, we have an exciting presentation ahead. But as for our speakers, I will introduce them here in just one moment. Before, I'd like to cover a couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, today's session is being recorded. So if you miss any of our discussion, if you'd like to rewatch or share with your team, you will be receiving an email with a link to access the recording on demand shortly after we conclude our live session today. If you'd like to engage with us, and we'd really like you to, the first option to do so is using the chat tab on the right side of your screen. So if you see that chat tab, I'd like you to go ahead and test it out by letting us know from where in the world you are joining us. Now, if you have any specific questions, we want you to send those questions into the Q&A tab on the right side of the chat section. We'll be handling a lot of questions today as this is going to be more of a conversation-based program. So be sure to send in your questions and we will address them as we see fit. If you jump over to that handout section, you'll see a couple of additional resources there available for you. And of course, before we close things out, we are giving away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. So be sure to stick around to see if you're one of our lucky winners today. So let me just get these slides going. So today's topic is strategies for successful legacy transformation. And I'm joined today by Mahesh Jambunathan, Global Head in Legacy Transformation AWS Business Unit at Tata Consultancy Services. So Mahesh has over 30 years of experience in the IT industry with extensive experience across executive roles and leadership, business strategy, planning, and execution. He also has extensive experience in across technologies from mainframe, digital transformation, and AI. He's created several startup initiatives of TCS and has track record in delivering optimal results in high growth environments with operational performance targets and yield measurable outcomes, with the programs receiving multiple industry awards and recognition. Our second speaker today is Rao Panchamarthi, Head of Architecture Mainframe Modernization at AWS. So Rao has over 20 years of IT experience focused on IBM mainframe systems. During the past 10 years, he spent his time evangelizing mainframe application modernization. He led large-scale business transformations by defining the strategy to augment, migrate, and modernize mainframe applications to cloud technologies. And prior to joining AWS, Rao was the head of architecture for JPMC credit card business and led multiple transformation projects. He currently leads architecture teams handling multiple mainframe modernization opportunities across the world for AWS. So Mahesh and Rao, thank you both so much for joining us today. Mahesh, would you like to get us started? Tell us a little bit about TCS, AWS, and the partnership the two have formed.
I think TCS in 2 years back had a messaging, new messaging, right, called Build for Better, right? In that, we talked about, we bring everything, we know how, we master the journey, and we are in it for good, right? So that's the messaging we have here from the perspective of AWS business unit, right? We started AWS business unit in 2021, and within in the last 2 years, we actually gone from 0 or 1 competency to about 14 competencies, and built a team of more than 18,000 people with AWS certifications and skills, right? So that's the commitment we have. Mainframe specifically was one of the first competencies which we got. We worked along with AWS, or I would say before even AWS started talking about the mainframe competency. And we were there when the launch of the competency, or the pre-launch of the mainframe modernization service, launch of the service. We also brought stories last year in reInvent on the M2 service. So that's our commitment to it, and we are really there to help our customers in their journey of mainframe modernization. Right, Rob, you want to?
Yeah. Mainframe modernization, in order to do the mainframe modernization, they need their partner really needs the skills of running the mainframe, because they really understand the current state of the mainframe, how it works. And they also need the cloud skills to transform into the future state. Uh, as part of the TCS skills wise concerned, TCS has been running the mainframes and maintaining the mainframes and developing the mainframes for our customers over 20 plus years. It starts predates to the Y2K, and those skills actually help them build the technology skills that are required. And over the last few years, they've been transferring these mainframe applications to the on-prem infrastructure. It started off with x86 transformation on-prem. With over the last few years, the transformation is now really picking up into the cloud platform. So TCS and AWS has partnered together. Now the TCS is certified as a mainframe modernization competency partner, and they have really tried and started delivering on mainframe modernization and migrations to AWS using AWS mainframe modernization service. And they are one of the first partners to get accredited and certified to start using this service. And TCS and AWS has a strong partnership and working with many customers to help their journey in transforming and modernization.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah, so Mahesh, let's send it on back to you. Who is still using these legacy systems, and how important are they?
Uh, I think most people underestimate what is there in the legacy systems. Right, every day when you are traveling from any place to any place in the world, majority of the airlines are actually still using legacy systems. Right, it is there are a few who are moved away or moving away, and we are helping them. But majority of them are still using legacy systems. Right, so similarly, if you look at banking or insurance or any of the other industries, there is a significant number of customers who are still using legacy systems, and for good reason. They have been reliable, stable. No, I've actually personally built some of these systems, and I know that they are really, really reliable, stable, and scalable. And that's the reason why they're still there. Uh, but I think it's also time to relook at the strategies, and are they the strategy for the future. And that's where we come in. We are coming in and talking to customers, understand what they are doing today and how we can help them in their journey. Right, it is not like a switch on, switch off. So it's a journey, and then we are trying to help them in the journey of mainframe modernization. I would say I have personally talked to maybe about 200 or 250 odd customers the last 2 years since the AWS unit. And there is a tremendous energy in looking at modernization because of the value it will bring in. And so that's the reason why we are here. Rob?
So, Rao, what are you seeing in the market?
Um, Mainframes has been powering our enterprises, especially banking, financial, travel, and government and manufacturing, and all of these for last 30 to 50 years. Mainframes were used when the man went to the moon around 50 plus years back. So they're highly reliable and existed for 50 years and supporting our enterprises, right? So what I'm seeing from the market is as the advent of the digitization, the customer engagement, and all of these customer channels are being come up. The banking and insurance sector, especially the financial industry, really looking for faster time to delivery, and as well as engaging with their customers in faster phase and where they are, whether it is digital or mobile channels. And all of these financial industry, healthcare, and travel and hospitality is actually they're competing with their digital partners. And in that sense, we started seeing that all of these customers are now started looking for modernization to take advantage of all the new companies that are built on the cloud. And as they're nimble enough and they're meeting their customers in terms of their customer experience and delivering new and enhancing the products to the market faster. So we are seeing a lot of demand, especially in the financial industry, healthcare, and travel and hospitality, for a modernization.
Just want to add, India's mission to the moon used mainframe, right? The Chandrayaan 3 used a mainframe too. So that's how reliable it is. Not a past, it is today, and it's in the tomorrow as well. It is there to stay. So yeah.
All right. Well, Mahesh, I know that making cases for change, why would, or sorry, what type of systems are running on these mainframes and why would customers be looking to modernize?
Yeah, I think we see a lot of varied size of customers. When we are looking to categorize, I think the smallest we could talk about was medium, right? So there is no small customers on the mainframe today, right? The medium, large, extra large is kind of where we were landing in there, right? So these many of these systems, even if their line of code is not big, are actually very complex systems, right? So they are running maybe hundreds, thousands of applications. They are probably running very complex assembler systems written maybe in the 70s or 80s, or like in the airline in TPF or similar systems. Various technologies, Fortran, for example, we're dealing with customers with Fortran. We're dealing with customers with 4GL languages, Adabas Natural, or various Ideal Datacom and Supra Mantis and various other technologies like that. So the technologies used are complex, and there is, I think, slowly over a period of time, there is a lack of new expertise coming in, and that's the biggest challenge we see there. There is no new expertise. Nobody out of college is actually studying mainframe or COBOL today, and you need real convincing to get people to do that, and that's the bottom line we are seeing there, right? And the second piece is that there is also a lot of talk of failure of mainframe modernization, and I think that's where I think we are able to say that our capability in delivering and in actually assuring that delivery can actually be there. So and guaranteeing the delivery at 99 plus percentage certainty. That's something kind of what we are bringing to the table. Um, on the customer side, we see, I mean, there is a lot of contractual changes, increase in costs, negotiating terms, change in data centers. A lot of different dimensions are coming in, and I think that's where I think customers are like, okay, it's a time for change, because I'm actually probably going to pay 20%, 30% more for exactly the same thing I did last year. Why not change, right? So that's there. And digital transformation is taken off. And I think if you look at Gen AI, for example, if your data is not or was not in the cloud, I mean, how do you use Gen AI with mainframe is a challenge, right? And like I said, TCO, right? The TCO compared mainframe to a cloud, I would say is like a 1 to 5, right? So, and that actually makes a huge difference in deciding on taking from mainframe to cloud. We are doing business case for tons of customers, and I think our view is that you have like a tremendous outcome in terms of business agility, right? Reduction in cost and various other dimensions there, right? So there is tremendous value, and you can actually significantly reduce TCO, right? Depending on what dimension you're looking at, cost or other things, there are different strategies available, which we'll talk in the subsequent slides. Now,
Yeah. I would actually categorize this into 4 different buckets. The first bucket is the cost. Some of our customers are actually looking at the cost of running this platform, both from the hardware and software point of view. and they're just trying to see, is there a better way to run their business workloads in more of an OpEx model with more innovative and cost efficient platform. That's one reason for change, case for change. The second area that I would highlight is the velocity of the speed and frequency and velocity of the features delivery to the market in order to compete with their business competitors. And if you have to really look at the monolith systems that are built on a mainframe, which doesn't allow you to quickly and faster respond to the market, and the case for change is to migrate and build all these highly flexible environments, both from the infrastructure point of view as far as their application deployment perspective. Can you increase your velocity by building a modern systems on a cloud platform so that you respond faster to the market, right? That is the second area that we are seeing a case for change. The third area that we are seeing the case for change is the risk mitigation. The risk mitigation is where, in terms of your fixed contracts with your hardware and software suppliers, and at the same time your skill availability in the market in the future. Do you have are you having an environment that may not be supported by the skills available in the market in the future? Are you building your environment that can be supported by the skills available in the market in the future? Those are the three areas. The fourth one is, as Mahesh highlighted, the innovation, right? As you move the applications and your software and infrastructure stack onto the modern platform, you are actually taking advantage of all the innovation that comes with it. You can start using your Gen AI by unleashing the value of the data and all of that. But if your data and applications and everything is locked down on the platform, you will not be able to achieve those benefits. So these are all four big areas that we see a case for change. So I think that would actually, it's not one, actually, some cases, our customers are looking for all of them together and trying to put together a modernization journey so that they can take advantage of all these four areas that I just mentioned.
All right, well, Mahesh, take us through a little bit about what the transformation journey looks like.
Yeah, I think so. When we are putting this slide, I think the thought process was to share a couple of important aspects we see in the market. We talked about 100, 200 of customers we see there, right? So one, we see a lot of customers spend enormous amount of time trying to evaluate, is this right for you, not right for me, not right for me, right? So that is one which we see and we notice there, right? And what I can say is, take the next step and you will actually have better decisioning capability, right? Do assessment and look at what is your inventory, what are the options, and you actually be better positioned to decide. And a lot of those can actually be also through investments and other things from us or AWS, right? So it is easier for the decisions by doing the second step than doing the first step, because without knowing what is your technology stack and other things, it is very difficult to recommend what is the right decision. Okay, right? And outside in is always a challenge. Okay, right? But you also see customers doing POCs and pilots. From our perspective, POC is a point technology or a specific aspect to be proven, and it is not something which you want to take forward. And a pilot is to prove the entire process or the journey, assuming that you've decided to go for another, right? So that's a two differential there. And if anybody is looking at proof POC to say will replatform work, I think it's a waste of time is my view, because there is like a ready platform not today on AWS with M2, which you can start off in maybe 2 days and you actually see a live system in days. Okay, so POC isn't value there. POC is valuable if you are like trying to prove something which is a technology there. I have APPC LE6.2 and I need to migrate, or I have some special aspects on my technology which I need to migrate. There is definitely value there, but there's no value, I would say, in trying to prove, is this going to work? Okay, I think there we have seen enough customers who are able to perform equal or better. So I think even from a performance perspective, I believe the technologies are caught up and ahead. And almost everywhere we see that the performance is actually superior to what they are today. So that's something to, from a POC or a perspective, right? And then the transform journey is dependent on your scale and your budget and your timelines and your strategy on how you want to do, right? Do you want to do big bang, anything which is very big? I would say no big bang, but most other customers, who have like hundreds of applications, I think it would be many phases. So timeline is could be like 1 to 5 years. 10, I've seen customers going 10 years and still not finished, right? So the transform journey is there, but what they miss is, I think they retire. Okay, we seen some customers who have like 60-70% the applications are moved, but the jobs are running, the applications are still running. So you're actually doing empty cycles of computing for no reason. And the simple reason is that they don't know. Okay, I would say they don't know. I mean, that's really where the goes there. And the second is, what do I do with the data, right? So we can bring in strategies to what to do with the data, what to do with the empty cycles, and how can you eliminate this. How can you actually do that. I mean, it's not to say that everything will move out of mainframe into cloud. It may or may not, depending on your strategy. But over a period of time, we do see significant move, right? But these are some key things which we see from customers, and I just want to share. So, Rao,
Yes. Um, One thing I would like to highlight is what we have seen by working with hundreds of customers across the world, where the projects are typically will be successful in the journey if there is a strong business sponsor. And whenever you start a big project of legacy and mainframe transformation, if you start off with one-off projects where you don't have a very strong business and executive sponsor, the projects would not be kicking off, that projects would not move to the next stage. So at any point in time, when any organization is starting to build a mainframe and legacy transformation journey, we want to make sure that there is a right structure put in place. Who is the decision maker? Who is actually sponsoring the project? And we also have to tie the business benefits with the technology transformation. A technology transformation by itself cannot be approved or justified. They have every technology owner has to kind of talk to their corresponding business counterpart and put together a strategy saying that, hey, this project, after completing this project, these are all the business benefits we get, whether in terms of the velocity of the product delivery and feature delivery, or whether it could be a cost reduction, could be a risk reduction. So the first step in any successful legacy transformation is you need to have a strong business and technical sponsor to make this project successful. Then all the steps that Mahesh explained, the evaluating, assessing, POC, pilot, transform, and retire, will be sequential steps you take. But one more thing that I would like to highlight, which is kind of many companies that are successful, a lot of companies can stuck within analysis and paralysis space. What they do is, I have this 30-year-old application with 100 million lines of code. I really don't know where to start. Let me spend a year to analyze where to start and what to go with it. I think the biggest success we have seen with our customers is make the decision quickly. Don't have to think about the entire transformation journey ahead just before it's beginning itself. You can always build the journey parallelly while you are going to go ahead and start a POC or a pilot. Because let's say if you want to modernize your application and you want to build a refactored application, which will be converting to COBOL to Java, or a replatforming application where you leave the COBOL as is on the AWS platform, start with two applications, pick one for each, and have your teams directly work with AWS and TCS, and we'll help you build both the POCs, prototypes, and you get the understanding of these, and then you decide which is the right path for you while you build the full modernization journey. So the two highlights that I'll give you is, one, have the right business and technology sponsors. The second is start with small and you build on top of it. You don't have to decide the whole thing at the start of the journey.
Awesome. So we've covered the journey and how we get started, but I know the journey is different for everyone, and everyone has different starting points in this race. So I was just curious, Mahesh, what strategies and options are available for people looking to modernize?
yeah. Thanks, Cody. See, we see customers in varied sizes. Okay, right. So I think the first thing what Rao mentioned is a business sponsor or a business uh, decision to move forward. That's really important. And we see customers, many of these we are talking about here are what we see customers actually doing. We see customers splitting into multiple segments and not necessarily do a one size fit all there. Every segment has its own way of doing it. But finally, this sponsorship of something like a mainframe modernization is a CEO or a CIO, right? Because it needs sponsorship at the highest level, right? But it also needs to be segmented so that there is autonomy of decision at each level and the right strategy is taken forward there. So that's one thing we really see as very important, and we see what customers look to do, right? The second thing is look at simple essential strategies, right? So for example, data, right, or tapes, right, can be done in fairly short time. You can actually take a read only copy of data, create data lakes, or you can actually create an archive of your tapes or take off those and do it very easily, right? Similarly, once you have the data, there is also output modernization, printing, and those avenues, simple things can be done. And then you can build your next horizon 2, horizon 3 analytics and AI and layer on top of it. So those type of simple strategies can actually help you there, right? Similarly, replatform or a refactor is actually essential, even if it is to consolidate your technology into a more what do you call simpler structure, right? We see like customers with 25 different technologies on the mainframe where the skills are not there. So I think even if you refactor to say 2 3 technologies, it actually will really help you in consolidating and will really help you in your skills, right? So replatform, I think, is a tremendous tool. Similarly, refactor is a tremendous tool, especially in the specialized technologies, assembler, and IDMS or any of these where you are struggling with skills and there, right? So it's a tremendous tool there as well. Okay. And the important thing we see customers shift today in the last 2 years is also looking at emphasis into transformation, right? So not look at mainframe hosting as a separate piece, but look at mainframe hosting leading into transformation so that you are solving two different problems in one shot, right? Which is fine. I need to find an what do you call renegotiate contract every year or every 2 3 years with provider, and then I need to also transform, right? So this is actually giving conflicting in drivers, and some providers are not ready to sign up there, right? So instead, why not sign up together is something which we are seeing customers talk about and starting to do. And that's where I think we with along with AWS and various other partners are bringing to the table a different strategy of I will taper your mainframe over a period of time and commit it in the contract so that you actually are able to reduce mainframe and get the benefits of cloud without actually having to go through the cycles of negotiating contract there. So that's something which you see there, right? On the right side, here we talk about your core business capabilities, right? Which is I think where the business is looking at what are your drivers, right? And I think there, I think we see a lot of customers taking the decision of I don't want to hold any DCs. I want to exit my data centers completely. So that's a business strategy. I don't want to be in the capex cycle, capex expenditure cycle. I want to go to a more opex cycle. And second is I want to keep the core, right? And I want to spend my maximum effort on my core differential capabilities, and I want to maybe flatten, use like a refactor or a replatform or a product strategy for the rest of it, right? So those type of strategies are what customers are doing, and combining with what else other things we talked about, right? There is no single strategy which is going to work. So it's like adopt multiple strategies and do that. One very important part which we see customers need to do and prepare upfront is the coexistence, right? It is not like you are going to take the mainframe away and move it in 6 months, right? And we do see customers ask, like, can you move in 6 months? We say that that's absolutely not possible. So you have to prepare for a period of time. Both platforms will exist, and how will you build the strategy for coexistence, double cost, all of those there, right? And maybe the last piece of it, which you also see customers, because of maybe they have not done the right buy-in, the business adoption is also a challenge, which I think we are advising some customers. Now, after you transform, how do you make sure that the business is actually seeing the value and using this? And that's something which also needs education and needs strategy there. So these are some of the things which we see out there with customers, and we can actually always help you map out which is the right set of strategies for you to take to move forward, right? And this is a microcosm of what various other things which we see out in the market there. So no, this is not necessarily a complete strategy for any customer. Rao, go on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mahesh. So when we have our conversation with our customers, right? So what happens is, like, we have been supporting our customers for the mainframe modernization and all the migrations for the last 10 years. And in the very early days, when we had discussions with our customers, it was mostly we're offering compute, storage, and databases, and we are letting our customers choose their own journey. They have discussions with their partners and picking the right tool to modernize and migrate from their on-prem to AWS. And that was our initial state when we started our support for our customers, and it was mostly working with the partners and delivering that journey. And during our conversations with our customers, what we found out is, just by offering an infrastructure and the storage and the compute, whether it is EC2 and the databases, is not actually making our customers accelerate their modernization. The reason is, the minute you choose your partner, whether it is a replatform product or a refactor product, you still need to integrate that into the rest of the AWS services, whether it is security integration, the actually the deployment using into the database integrations, whether it is the monitoring and dashboard integration, whether it is using the CloudWatch and all. Every customer, for every application, they have to integrate with all the rest of the AWS services. And what we understood is, all of this is actually taking more time than actually migrating an application. And in order for them to build all of these, which is not actually a differentiated work, which is something which can be done once, can be repeated across many other applications, many other customers at the same time. So what AWS has done is, actually we went and identified all the things that can accelerate the modernization journey. And we have identified there are 4 areas where our customers are looking for our help. The number one is the refactor, which we acquired a company called Blue Age into AWS in 2021, and we released a service, mainframe modernization service, in 2022 June, which integrates the refactor as part of the AWS mainframe modernization service. What it does is, it provides you the set of capabilities which will start from transformation of your code. It starts with assessment of your code and identify the right set of the code that needs to be migrated to modernize. And then it will also allow you to transform that code from COBOL to Java, and it will allow you to deploy it and run it on the platform. That's a refactor, which is a Blue Age. And then we had a commercial agreement with our Microfocus partner, and we integrated the replatform capability of the Microfocus into AWS mainframe modernization service. And that actually, in case of the replatform, it keeps the COBOL language as is, but it modernizes all the surrounding systems. It replaces your operating system, the infrastructure, and it also replaces all your security and database and integration and all of that. And then we partnered with data precisely to integrate data replication, which, because a lot of our customers are asking, the mainframe modernization takes 5+ years in some cases, because if the platform is so big with 100,000 MIPS. Can we get quick return on investment by migrating our data, so that we can start building our AI ML models, new functions using web and mobile applications? So precisely data replication is one area that we are investing and support our customers. And this is going to be included part of the AWS mainframe modernization service, which was actually released in August for our customers to start using that. And we are actually partnering with Model 9, which is part of BMC now, to migrate your mainframe files onto AWS, and so that you can start building your data capabilities, backup and restore capabilities using their file transfer onto AWS. So whether you choose your journey with refactor with COBOL to Java transformation, keeping the COBOL as is and replatforming it, or whether you are replicating the data to get the quick return on investment with AML new functions, or you migrate your file system for your backup and recovery, or taking the advantage of the data lake on AWS by using all your file systems stored on AWS. Whatever your journey, whatever is the pattern that you choose, AWS mainframe modernization now supports your journey by using all of these patterns. Okay. And Cody, if you
So
can move
Rao,
to the next.
Rao,
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, quickly, does Blue Age support EasyTree code?
Blue Edge actually supports the three. One is natural, PL1, and COBOL, and we actually partnering with some other partners who are part of the mainframe modernization competency. Model 9 supports the COBOL, the assembler to the modern language conversion, either it could be COBOL or Java. And we also have EasyTree supported by Model 9. So the Blue Edge
I,
doesn't support. Go ahead, sorry.
I think I just want to add. I know maybe the question is easy tree, but I think the best way would be not do a point decision on easy tree, because easy tree to what is the first question which I would ask. What are you going to do with easy tree, and what does easy tree do, right? And then decide on what is the strategy to do. And it's same with every technology, right? I know customers use easy tree for reporting, so there is a strategy for reporting, and there are tools for converting EasyTree to COBOL or something else there, right? There is also EasyTree supporting maybe data analytics or data consolidation, like a sort or something else. So then there is a different strategy which we need to do, right? So I think I would say, while we say a blue age or a question, I think the question is larger than just saying what is the conversion, right? Will this tool support, right? It is
Yep.
more of what is your strategy, and then what is the right decision to take, and the right tools. There are enough tools for every technology, okay, right, and more. So there is at least two or three who do it. There is even an IBM service which does the easy tree conversion. There is like the partner, like Rao mentioned, Mlogica. But I think before you go in and say easy tree to what, I think that's the first answer, right? And why, right? And then we look at what's the right strategy. Okay, so that's how I would look at it. Okay, Rao, sorry.
Yeah, it's a very good answer, Mahesh, because if you think about it, Cody, mainframes existed for last 30 years. There are many software stack running on a mainframe, whether it is C-list, Rex, EasyTree, assembler, and there is no one tool or one partner product that's going to support the entire ecosystem of the mainframes. So we first have to understand what the current state does, and then what is your target like modernization objectives, and we pick and choose the right tool that support, and some are integrated and some are supported by our partners. Okay, so I'd like to take a few minutes. Thanks, Cody, for setting up for the next conversation. As you could see here, AWS has launched AWS Mainframe Modernization Service. It's one of the 200 services that's available on AWS Console, and this is actually managed runtime offering. What does it mean by managed runtime, right? So if you look at the three different verticals that you see here, all the way left, you have on-premises mainframe environment where everything is managed by the customer today, starting from your data center facilities all the way up to running and maintaining applications, and everything in between in terms of your mainframe operating system, the licensing, billing, monitoring, and logging, and all of that is part and parcel of your on-prem management today. Around 3+ years back, AWS was just offering our EC2 infrastructure with compute storage and maybe some databases. At that point in time, customers were just migrating by using our infrastructure, but we're still leaving the responsibility of bringing a product which runs on AWS, and all the licensing, building, integrations, installations, patching, scalability, high availability integration, all of that has to be done by our customer and partner, so that it is not really an acceleration approach. We're just providing infrastructure as a service, and we are leaving all the heavy lifting back to our customers and partners. To respond to that requirement, in 2021 we announced AWS mainframe modernization service, and in 2022 we launched that as part of AWS console. Now it is directly available through our console. Anybody can go and sign up and start using that service now. This service is now, it's a managed runtime, and it provides all these capabilities that are actually leaving the responsibility back to the AWS. These are all undifferentiated capabilities. For example, integrating and deploying with your licensing and billing, and your installation and patching of the software, and your resource deployment, whether it is EC2s and your load balancers, and high availability integration across multiple availability zones, scaling up the environment in and out using horizontal scaling, and responding back to your CPU and your response times, and as well as integrating with your security, with identity and access management. And all these capabilities are coming out of the box from this AWS mainframe modernization service. You can go into your console and pick and choose whether you want Blue Age or Microfocus, and then you see, do you want how many availability zones? Do you want how many instances has to be deployed on each? All of that is now templatized. You can just pick and choose using the drop down radio buttons, and it's readily deployed. And the application, now the environment is ready in less than 5 minutes, where you can deploy your applications and start testing your applications. So we eliminated all these undifferentiated heavy lifting from our customers, so that you start focusing on your application and data, not on the infrastructure part of it. And that is what we wanted to do. We want to eliminate all these heavy lifting from our customers and make it easily available for the modernization and migration journey. Cody.
I just want to add, in the previous thing, Rao talked about 2 minutes or 5 minutes to install, right? So this is something which we are using as a key strategy when you do assessment of our customers, right? Because they have cloud, but there are no tools on the mainframe to actually analyze the applications. But we are able to leverage either the Blue Edge service or the Microfocus based service and get it installed in a couple of days. So it actually shrinks the time to start a project from month to month to hours and days, right? So, and we're able to come in and use the tool and analyze your environment and accelerate the right, even at the assessment, right? Because that the starting point is always a challenge, and this is an area where we are really able to use the AWS services to accelerate the journey. Okay. Yeah. So can go. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Thanks. I think the one of the important things I wanted to add is we also talked about the AWS service, and TCS also has a set of services which complement what we have on AWS. So we use where it is relevant, we use the AWS services, where we use TCS services, or we use our partner services, right? So depending on what is the right context and what is the right solution for the customer. So that's how we see it. So TCS Mastercraft is our anchor service for mainframe modernization. It actually supports the entire value chain. But areas where we really focus and where it is differentiated from anybody else is looking at the business rule extraction or understanding of existing application, right? Because systems may have been built 30 years, 40 years. There is probably no documentation, and understanding the existing application itself is a big challenge. We actually use it to do the understanding, maybe do the documentation, or extract the business rules for a future state, right? So that is one of the key things which we see customers doing. This is one of the key strategies which a number of our customers look at, especially enterprise customers look at to do. and this is there, right. Second, it also supports model based forward engineering, so you can take the business rules and model your future state, right. It is not like you export import, because your future state you're reimagining. So take your business rules and remap to your future state, and then you can actually generate code, boom, and then your system is ready in much faster time. So that's other thing which we support. We also support limited code conversion, but no, so again the context will be COBOL, maybe a little bit other technologies from automated code conversion, but we use it from mainly from COBOL because a lot of our big customers are COBOL based. So that's other area we do. But that will depend on the context of every customer whether we use it or not. But the business rule extraction is something which a lot of our customers see value in, and there isn't many others who actually can do the same type of traceability and rule extraction like what we can, right. So that is there. So the last part is code migration, A to A. I don't know, take a DB2 from mainframe to a DB2 on the cloud is probably a very straightforward thing. But A to B, take it from a DB2 to a DynamoDB or a Cassandra or something else, is not as simple as that. So we support those transformational migrations or code conversions as well. So that's other thing which actually can accelerate the customer. So this is I would say pieces of the puzzle which complete the strategy for customers, right. It is no one tool which is going to do everything for everybody. So this is additional things which we do. We also have various other tools through the cloud journey which we can, if you are looking to do a thing, we can do a conversation and then we can talk about it on your context, right. And I don't think we can do justice in the R to all of those. Okay, yeah, thanks.
All right. So Mahesh, you've touched on the timeline can vary. Sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years. Like you've seen up to 10 years for this migration, this modernization journey. So tell us typically about what that timeline is going to look like, and explain what the migration bubble is.
Yeah, I think I will start with the bubble, right. Many customers get surprised when they start, and then they start do the math. Okay, right. I have to run my existing system. I have to invest in modernizing the new system, and I have to spend progressively increasing amount on the new system, right. So that's what really the bubble is. So when you start up, when you're in the journey of migration, there is going to be increased cost. Okay, right. How long will that be depends on two things, right. So one is what strategy you do, whether you rehost or replatform, which can be shorter time frame or refactor, or you want to completely rethink and modernize, right. This is number one. Number two is uh, business adoption, right. I talked about it earlier as well, right. So you can build the system and wish whatever you want, but if the business doesn't like it and doesn't want to use it, then your cost is not going to decrease. Okay, so you look at the slide here. We talk about different strategies. The bubble will vary because the factor of how long it will take is dependent on how big your application is, right? Not how many MIPS you're consuming or how many cores you are doing, right? Because it's the how size of the application which defines how long it will take, and each strategy and also the various technology underlying there, right? But typically, you would say, replatform. We have done enough of those in 12 months. We have done enough of refactors in 12 to 24 months. But if you chunk it smaller, you can do lesser time frame, or if you do a bulk convert, you can do lesser time frames, right? So there. But if you are rewriting ground up, right, the story is you are actually doing a design thinking, reimagining, creating a future state which is not necessarily the same as is. It will take longer, right. It will take longer, it will take more investments, but end of the cycle, if you look at the right side on the curves going dipping, typically a refactor, which is removing any um, legacy technologies, any emulators, or a rewrite, will actually cost you significantly lower or a longer term. Your payback times may not be shorter, so a replatform will probably like 18 months to 2 years you can actually get returns, but other strategies will take longer, and that, right. But again, it's a factor of your context, so it's not necessarily same for everyone. Okay. Rob, you want to?
Yes. So I'd like to add one thing, right? So what we are seeing in the market is now the refactor tools, which is actually the Blue Age tool, actually now it's tuned enough. It's actually converted close to 1 billion lines of code over the last 15 plus years, and it is matured enough. The refactor conversion of the applications and migrating, modernizing application from COBOL to Java using the automated tools has achieved the maturity, and it also enabled us to reduce the cost. So I would say compared to replatform, it might be nominally higher, but compared to rewrite, it might be lower. So what I would suggest is reach out to us. We can actually take a look at your current size of the code, and we'll work with you to put together a business case, which is the right approach for you. So you don't have to kind of make a decision based on the chart that you see here. Each application is different because how many MIPS it consumes, and how many lines of code, how complex is the code base. A lot of those factors come into picture to decide which is the right journey path to take. But as Mahesh suggested, replatform could be a quick return on investment and faster migration. Refactor might take a little longer, but it will give you a Java code. So you have to make a decision around is that additional investment will give you Java code, which provides you more agility. Some customers are liking it and they're moving it forward. But rewriting is always a risky proposition because you have built your application for last 30 years. And if you have to rewrite all of that, it's going to take a long time and it's a higher risk. So, but there's no one strategy that works for all. Some customers are deploying all three: replatforming few applications, refactoring few applications, and picking as choosing rewrite for some of the applications, depending on their business objectives. So all can be used as well. Yep.
So, guys, we are in our final 9 minutes here. So I want to kind of bring us home a
Uh,
little bit with some
we
important
just
customer questions.
just go
Um,
next slide, and then we can go to customer questions.
sure thing.
Yep. I'll I'll probably spend less than a minute, and then we'll leave at least 8 minutes for our customer questions. AWS and AWS actually worked with our partners and put together the investment that we can support in our customer journey. Right. In all this journey, there are three different areas that we are investing. One is the people, another one is a process, the third one is a technology. In the people side, within AWS, we have skilled professional services who can help you with your transformation journey. And these are all mainframe plus cloud experts who understands the mainframe, who understands the cloud, and help you transform. We also have 12 migration competency partners who have thousands of engineers who are trained on these capabilities of AWS mainframe modernization service. And we also have released AWS mainframe modernization service, which is our technology differentiator. And we have many tools that are part of that service. And we also have developed a curated migration methodology in terms of assessing, mobilizing, and migrating. And we also work with our customers and provide some investments to reduce the bubble cost in terms of the modernization. And we also, as part of your journey and transformation, people transformation, we also support the training to actually upskill our customer engineers to pick up the modern technologies and support their journey. So these are all various investments we support for our transformation.
Yeah, I think also just want to add, combine this with some smart financial models and modernization strategies. We can actually help smoothen the bubble. Will it be zero increase? Is a context of every customer. There, but we can definitely help smoothen the bubble cost for customers, or reduce the bubble cost, or we can look at all of these strategies together and help that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so we can go to questions. I think we can, yeah, we can go to questions directly, Cody, and then we can answer those questions. I think there are some questions on the chat. We can take those, and then
Yep.
Absolutely. So the first one that I'm seeing, and looks like we've got this question a couple times. So, what is the best way to start, and what are the risks and challenges associated with starting this process?
Oh, it's a very tricky question, right? So, what is the best way to start? I would say is just start, right? You go and get the buy-in and just start and start somewhere. Okay, I mean that's really the bottom line, right? Start somewhere, start small, think about it, and then do it. And then we did talk about the decisioning there. Assess, we can come in and assess and help you there, but start somewhere, right? Because sometimes there is in even the code. Do you have your code? I mean, there's a lot of fundamentals which are there. Do you have IP there? People don't necessarily know that something is somebody else's IP and you cannot change it. So those initial things actually have to be ironed out before you can actually do anything. So I would say just start, right? And start somewhere is what I would say is the ideal strategy. Now you have anything.
Yeah, I would echo with that. Don't spend too much time in analysis and paralysis phase, and just start and learn from it and refine and incrementally refine your strategy to modernize. Because I worked with many companies, and I spent in my past spending a year to analyze where it didn't go project anywhere. And the customers that are very successfully start with nimble, learn and refine the strategy. I think that's the best approach. Okay. Um, there are a few
So
questions related to. Sorry, go ahead, Cody.
I was just going to ask how AWS and TCS can help manage risk when getting started.
You want to take Rao first, and then I can.
Yeah. AWS actually developed, in partnership with in some of our partners, is a curated methodology in terms of three-step approach. One is SS. You always start with assessing your portfolio, understand your business objectives and technology objectives, and define what are the right strategies that needs to be deployed, both financially and incrementally modernizing by using phased approach, waving your modernization one wave at a time. And that way you reduce your transformation risk so that you exactly know where you are starting, what is year by year business objectives and technology objectives. You build on top of it so that you know what is your journey, what is your objectives quarter by quarter, phase by phase, so that you reduce your risk in that. And at the same time, the tools that we provide will also help you accelerate your journey. So that means it will reduce your unknowns, because you are using a curated set of tools and processes, which will help you accelerate as well. uh, Mahesh, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think what we do typically is very similar to what AWS does in terms of assess. I think you saw a roadmap earlier there. The one thing which we do different is the tool, and we supplement with workshops to, because many customers have moved some pieces somewhere, and if you don't take into account all the moving parts, you don't necessarily have the right journey, right? So many of our customers have done some pieces, but they've not done some pieces. So that's an important piece to do, to get a sense of what's the moving parts, what is not moving, and then take a call on how you want to move forward. The assess. Many customers have already built landing zones and core architecture, so we will leverage what is your existing architecture. But if you don't have, we actually have the patterns. You can build your landing zones, or AWS can build landing zones. So those strategies we can bring there. But I think important is to ground to what is today, and that's really going to drive anything else there, right? So, and that's something which we also add in the mix of anything which we assess. Okay. I think there were some point questions. We do you want to maybe give a short and answer? I think in the chat there were like Model 9 and VSAM.
I can take those two questions. We'll start with the COBOL to Java conversion. Blue Edge actually takes your structured COBOL programming language and create your object-oriented language. This is not a tool which converts line by line to give you a JOBOL kind of look. It actually do a reverse engineer from your code, your COBOL code, and create a model, language model, and it actually forward engineering that language model to create Java code. So in this case, when you really compare COBOL to Java on the side by side, you really see a fully object-oriented classes and data objects, and as well as business objects, data entity objects, and your UI components as a three-tiered architecture, which object-oriented language. So if you want to go further and dive deep into any of this, please reach out to us offline. We can help you with that. just to close out on the question related to the model line, Blue Edge actually Blue Edge does not support CDC and MQ and Kafka. Blue Edge in order for you to do a CDC and Kafka data augmentation, we have to use precisely as part of AWS mainframe modernization service. Blue Edge only supports the code transformation and deploying and migrating your applications. If you are interested in data migration, data replication using CDC and Kafka, that would be precisely as your tool. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to add. So we sometimes use precisely, sometimes use custom model. No, for example, in VSAM you mentioned, right? We have created a custom coexistence model because the customer didn't want to buy a product, and it was a very point requirement. So we could use there are a number of products, CDC products out there, but typically interfaces are custom because interfaces use the OS specific capabilities. So you need to look at the interfaces and rebuild or re-architect if depending on what type of technology you uses, right? Sometimes you could simply convert, but sometimes a lot of times you actually have to what do you call realign the interfaces to what is your future state technology, right? But coexistence, yeah, CDC, there's tons of products out there. Precisely is a great product you can use, and no, we can recommend anything else depending on what you're actually taking, what data, what is the source data, and what is the target data, right? So that's yeah. So I think we are on top of the hour, or we are like a minute over. So Cody, back to you.
Awesome. Well, Mahesh and Rao, thank you both so much for joining us on Techstrong Learning today. This past hour flew by, and I've got way too much to take home with me, so I'm sure our audience does too. So thank you both so much for the time that you've given to the presentation and to our audience.
Thank you.
Thank you, and please reach back if you have questions, and we will be happy to answer that.
Yep, we'll happy to do that, and really like all the questions that's coming from the audience, very insightful, and happy to chat offline.
Thank you.
Perfect. So all these questions that we weren't able to respond to, I think there might have just been a couple. We're going to be sending that over to our speakers, and they'll have those questions on record, and they'll be able to look at those and respond to you after the fact. So thank you everyone for your engagement today. I do want to remind everyone that we were recording this session. You will be receiving an email with a link to access the recording on demand, or you can also find it living on the Cloud Native Now website. That's cloudnativenow.com/webinars. The 4 winners of our $25 Amazon gift card drawing are Sandeep J, Aaron W, Ismail M, and Elsa F. So congratulations to our 4 winners. You'll be receiving an email from me shortly to get this gift card over to you. But if you don't happen to see an email, check your spam folder just in case it is filtered out. I'd like to thank AWS and TCS for sponsoring our program today. And to everyone still hearing my voice, thank you so much for being here. If you stick around, you will be funneled into our post-webinar survey, and we would love to hear your thoughts. But otherwise, we do hope to see everyone at a future Techstrong Learning experience. Have a great rest of your day. And Rao, Mahesh, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Thanks for moderating, and thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you, Rao, and thank you, Cody.